Hey, we're live. We're live, Jamil. Come back in. Welcome, everyone. This is episode number 50. When I booked our special guest today, I had no idea that we were actually celebrating a 50th episode, I guess, anniversary. But Jamil Zabaneh, the president of J&L Marketing, will be joining us today. We're going to be talking about what do business owners really want from their ad budget. And obviously, it's more traffic, it's more sales, it's more profit, right? We want the best ROI possible, but that's really not the discussion. It leads to that, obviously, but really we're going to talk about the fact that probably 90% of business owners out there don't actually know what their actual strategy is, which prevents them from getting to what they actually want with their budget. We're going to talk about some marketing do's and don'ts, specifically with digital marketing today. We're also going to talk about an intelligent way to build an ad strategy. So let's welcome for our 50th episode, J&L Marketing's president. And by the way, J&L Marketing is our sponsor. They help produce this show, Move, Crush, Count. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, all the channels, and Twitter, YouTube as well. Subscribe to everything you can so you get instant notifications. But I want to welcome today our digital marketing expert, Jamil Zabaneh. Welcome, Jamil.
Thank you, Scott. I'm excited. I'm really excited we get to talk today a lot about digital marketing. So let's get into it.
Yep. All right. So tell us, because not everybody knows you, who you are out there, or what your experience level is. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your background and your experience specifically when it comes to digital marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really started jumping into digital marketing about 10 years ago. And a lot of it's because I saw a huge need out there. We were coming out of the recession, and specifically in the automotive industry, dealerships were jumping into digital marketing, and a lot of them had no idea what they were doing. So we first started doing some IP and cookie matching and doing some basic display advertising. We were doing that in-house. From that, we grew it into Facebook, Instagram, full on social. And then we jumped in directly doing all paid search in-house. It's been a fun ride. We've gone from as small as 13 clients to now over 600 clients. Mm-hmm. Anything from some of the largest manufacturers like General Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, some of the largest auto groups, but then outside of auto as well. We have one of the largest plumbing, home services company here in the Midwest, as well as the fastest growing condiment company in the United States, Melinda's Hot Sauce, insurance companies, construction industry, you name it. If it's highly competitive, we've kind of jumped into it.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. So like you've described some pretty big clients there. Mm-hmm. Without going into specifics on what type, because a lot of times digital budgets in terms of what people spend can range all over the board.
Right.
And so what type of budgets what's the range, I guess, in budgets that you're managing?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have clients that spend $1,000 a month in ad spend up to clients that are spending six figures. Yeah. So it can completely ranges.
So let's dive right in. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the biggest challenge in digital marketing? And then specifically, how should people address it that are listening?
Yeah. So the biggest challenge that I see is a lot of people do not know where their money is going. So when you sit down and you talk to a client, even clients that understand SEM, understand display, understanding social advertising, they don't really truly know where it's going and what goal it's accomplishing.
So how do you mean? Be more specific with that.
Yeah. So when you sit down with a client, right, or if you're the head of you're head of marketing for a large company, the first thing you should be asking yourself is, what is my goal? And you would be shocked that I sit down with a client that's spending $20,000, $30,000 a month in digital marketing, and I said, okay, you're spending 20,000, 30,000. What are you looking for this to accomplish? And they look at me kind of crazy at first, and they say, well, I mean, to generate more business. Okay, fair enough. To generate more revenue. Maybe it's more leads. Maybe it's awareness. But what is the strategy, or how are you going about that? So I'll give you an example. Are you spending 20,000 because you want to acquire new customers, people that have never done business with your company? Are you spending the 20,000 because you want to bring back lost customers? Are you spending the 20,000 because you have a really good client base, but they're only buying a certain set of your products and you can get them into more of your products? Are you wanting to create awareness? Are you spending the 20,000 because your competition has a higher market share than you and you're trying to steal customers from that? And those are really, really important questions to know, because then it's going to dictate how you spend the money. Most people know they're spending the money, but knowing how to spend the money and where to spend it is actually more important.
Yeah. So what you're basically saying, if I'm hearing you correct, obviously we have a large audience from the auto industry, but as you mentioned, you're in a lot of different industries.
Yep.
A lot of different verticals. If I'm hearing you correct, I've got car dealerships, right?
Yeah.
You call on one of my managing partner, and you say, all right, what's your strategy? You're saying, if I'm hearing you right, the typical answer might be, well, we spend this much in advertising, and specific to digital marketing, I'm spending this in search, I'm spending this in display, I'm spending this in paid social, but that's not a strategy.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, let's take a car dealer, right? I get a hold of a digital marketing manager and they say, oh yeah, we're doing Google ads, we're doing display advertising, we're doing social, and Jamil, we're spending $10,000. Right off the top of the hand, they'll be able to say, well, we're spending 5,000 on search, 2,500 on display, and 2,500 in social. But before I even get there, I say, well, what are we trying to accomplish? And they're like, well, to generate more leads, more business, sell more cars. Okay, fair enough. How are we going to do that though? Do you need new customers? Do you need to reactivate your lost customers? Do you need to bring people back? And then what is out of the $10,000, how much are you spending specific to each goal? So as an example, let's take a car dealership. Right now, they're going to have budget for new, right? This is how much we're going to spend out of 10,000 to really, really get new. Now, a lot of car dealerships don't need to spend a lot on new. Used.
Not now. They don't have any.
Yeah. So then for used, how much are we spending on used? How much are we spending on service, right? Whether that's, bidding on service related keywords, whether it's a display ad of a service offer, social ads, and so on. What are we spending on buybacks? A lot of dealerships now are spending money to acquire cars because, auction prices are through the roof. So that should be the first thing that we have predicated out. Out of our $10,000, 20% is going to new, 30% is going to use, another 25% is going to service, and another 25% is going to buyback. And a lot of times the general managers, the owners of businesses have no clue. They just know how much they're spending, but they don't know where it's going.
All right. So obviously that would be a big mistake. What other type of big mistakes do you see that are out there in relation to digital?
So another mistake is, people need to ask the question, well, how does this compare to the industry benchmarks? So as an example, I'm looking over a roofing company right now, as well as a large casino. And in their mind, they think they're getting great results because the agency is doing these monthly calls and they're spinning it that it's this much of website traffic. But you can actually pull industry benchmarks for every industry very readily easy on Google searches. So it doesn't matter what industry you are, if you're home services, if you're a law firm, if you're in construction or you're in automotive, pull these industry benchmarks, see how does your cost per click compare against the industry benchmarks? How does your click-through rate compare against the industry benchmarks? And then go back to your agency and present the information and say, hey, why am I spending $1 more per click? Now, they might be able to present it to you and explain it well because we want to be 90% top of page rate. So we're having to spend a little bit. Or in our market, keywords are more competitive. So really better understand what are our benchmarks going to be and hold your agency accountable to those benchmarks.
So what do you think is the next big trend when it relates to digital?
I think we're in the middle of it right now, and that's a segmentation of audiences. So what I mean by that is this. So like when I set up a campaign, I have, and I don't care what industry it is, it could be a hot sauce, is we should have a strategy for current clients of ours. So within Google, within Facebook and Instagram, you can upload offline customer list across the board. So you should have a different strategy for people that have done business with you versus people that have never done business with you. And you should be tracking and measuring the success of that. So when I set up a paid search campaign, we have a budget for previous customers and conquest customers or new customers. Same thing with display, same thing with social advertising. So let's take an insurance company. An insurance company, you might have their home policy and their auto policy, but you might make a lot more higher spiffs on if you sell life insurance. So you can take those people that are your good customers for home and auto, upload it and serve them a Facebook and Instagram ad specifically that our insurance company offers life insurance policies. That would be a different strategy if you want to go after new customers. With new customers and you're that same insurance company, it's probably easier to bring them in your funnel through an inexpensive home or auto policy. So you're going to want to have a different strategy for each segmentation. That would be one. The second would be tracking. We've all probably heard about the iOS 14.5 update. It's getting harder and harder to track conversions, or it's limiting the opportunities to track conversions. So with all of my clients and really any of my friends that are doing digital marketing, I advise to make sure that you're doing some type of offline conversion tracking. So with Facebook and Instagram, it's very easy. At the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, however you want to do it, maybe you're working with an agency that it's an auto feed like we do. You want to make sure that the transaction data is feed into Facebook and Instagram, and you can actually see more true ROI.
So what do you say to people out there listening? Let's say you went a little bit into, I guess, from a retention strategy and attracting new business strategy, right? Mm-hmm. So talk to me. I'm a little interested in hearing more on the retention side real quick on this. So I think most people, when they're thinking about digital marketing, they mentally start with thinking it's about acquiring new business, right? I want to be out there. I want to get new. I want to make sure my brand is recognized. I'm top of mind awareness. I want low funnel stuff when they're doing clicks and all this other stuff. But and I know that you can upload. I'm very familiar with uploading audiences and your previous customers into Facebook and stuff like that. Right. But you went into search a little bit on this.
Yeah.
How many people are doing this? And maybe you don't know that answer. So let me ask a better question. Why is that it's so important on the search side? And do you see a lot of people doing this?
So number one, no, I don't see a lot of people doing it. It's something that we've been doing for over 5 years. And the only justification that I can be given is either A, they don't know how to do it, or they don't have the technology to do it, but it's fairly easy to do it inside of Google search, or B, it's time consuming. So a lot of agencies are charging a flat fee or a percentage, and the time to upload the data or acquiring the data or getting the first party data is very labor intensive. But then number two, it's double the amount of work. So why you should be doing this is a couple reasons. So if you upload your customer base for search, it allows you flexibility in probably 3 different ways. Number one is you can go out further in a mile radius. If you're a brick and mortar store, okay? So you brought up car dealerships earlier. If I'm a car dealership, if it's someone that's transacted with me, they've done service, they've bought a car from me, I should be more willing to go out an extra 5-10 miles than I would if I'm just trying to go after a new prospect. All right. Number 2 reason is you can bid up. So
what do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way Google search works is it all goes back to budgets are based off of a cost per click model. Okay. So if your cost per click is $2.50.
And by the way, I want to be very clear that I understand what you mean by that. but I am just asking in case there are people in the audience who may not know. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. So all of marketing in terms of search, typically agencies are doing a cost per click model. So let's say your cost per click is $4, okay? But if it's a previous customer of yours, which you know you're going to have a higher conversion rate on, most dealerships or most businesses are going to be more willing, especially if they're not typing your name in, to bid up or maybe spend $5 a click, 25% more. So what we do is we say, okay, well, knowing that this is a previous customer, knowing that retention is so important, knowing that they're actively in the market for your goods and services, instead of bidding $4, we're going to bid $5. And the only way you can do that is you can upload your customer list and create separate campaigns for previous customers. So that would be the second reason why you'd want to do it. And then the third reason, so you got mile radius, you got bid adjustment. The third reason is you can be more general with the keywords that you bid on. So for instance, maybe upper funnel keywords that potentially you would have not bid on, those might be keywords that you want to put on a previous customer campaign, knowing that you have a better shot at them because they have transacted with you.
I would also think that if, for instance, if you have my data, right, and or my customers' data, and you are creating campaigns around it for whatever reason, right? Like, let's just take whether it's generic, does it, and I'm asking this actually from a curiosity standpoint.
Yep.
I would assume you know more about, let's say I'm the person in the database. Let's say I'm the actual customer. You know more about me than, say, a competitor. Does it allow you to be more relevant in the ads?
Oh, absolutely. So in the auto industry, one strategy that some people are doing are lease returns. So, we can pull people ahead now 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, because the car values have gone up significantly. And these are people that maybe want to get out of these cars. Yeah. So if I can just pull off everybody, if I'm in a heavy lease market like the Northeast, and I want to look at anybody that has a lease expiring in the next 12 months, I can take that offline list, I can upload it, and I can serve targeted digital ads that specifically talk about bringing back your lease inside of 12 months. And just by chance, I'm a consumer that has a lease that's expiring in 11 months.
And by the way, there's a lesson out here for all the people listening that are potentially in their last year of their lease. In today's environment, please make sure you do not let that lease expire and just turn it in. You're much better off, because you probably leased that anywhere from 2 to 4 years ago. You're much better off paying it off and selling it or trading it in right now with the way the values are. So there's a lot of used cars right now selling for more than new. So make sure you take advantage of that. Do not just turn your lease back in. You're not doing anybody any favors except for the lending institute, the finance institution that leased it. What we had, and this goes to a little bit about what Jack Doyle was just saying. He said a lack of innovation, and I forget, he said this earlier on, and I've left this comment up here: a lack of innovation and inventiveness. Too many companies playing it safe. How do you respond to something like that comment from Jack?
Oh, I mean, if you're talking about the automotive industry, 100% agree. This is the time to take risk. I mean, in the last 2 years, our client base has grown about by 700%. And one of the biggest reasons is a lot of dealerships were scared to switch agencies or scared to try something new because, they were selling this amount of new cars. Well, now that there's inventory shortage, a lot of dealerships feel like, well, if I don't do any digital marketing this month, I potentially might sell a similar amount of cars. So this is the opportunity to reinvent yourself. This is kind of why I was saying earlier on, the biggest mistake is you got to know where your money's going, because it's unfortunate. A lot of clients that we take over, it's the same strategy where they're spending the money and how they're spending it that they had 2 or 3 years ago pre-COVID, and a lot's changed since then.
I wish we could have either some dealers or general managers. I wish we could put them in the hot seat right now. I should have asked some other people on there, but normally Move Crush Count, we have one person we're interviewing. So, but on some of these live shows that we're doing now, that'll end up on the podcast, I need to bring in a panel because I would love to put a general manager or dealer in the hot seat, because you know damn well if we just ask them, hey, do you know where your money's being sent? Most of them are going to say, oh, yeah, absolutely. And then if we ask them, they're going to go right back to what you're saying. Yep, I'm spending $5,000 in paid search or $3,000 in paid search. I've got this much in display. I'm doing this much here. I'm doing this much there. I've got doing this for SEO, whatever it would be. But once your point is that's not the strategy. That's just an allocation of budget, and which is why I've titled this show, what do business owners really want from their ad budget? And it's not really about the budget. It's really about the results they're trying to achieve. And it's not based on, it has to first start with the strategy that you're talking about, if I'm hearing you right. In other words, what are our goals? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? Well, right now, I've got 3 dealerships. One of them has 4 cars on the lot, new cars. Right now, business is great. I joke around with my partner all the time. I hope inventory never returns, but but the reality is, all right, we need cars. Mm-hmm. And so, I was on a great show yesterday with Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and we were talking about, should dealers continue to advertise right now? They have no inventory. They're all making record profits. But the reality is absolutely, because what you have to do is market share. The easiest time to gain market share is when everybody else is pulling back. So if other people pull back, you got to continue, but to your point, you've got to be smart about the strategy behind it. Maybe you put a heavier emphasis on acquiring more vehicles. Maybe right now with I guess, it's difficult in every industry to hire good people right now. Maybe there's some budget towards that and your brand, right? Advertising your culture. Maybe with summer over, you're seeing a slowdown in parts and service. And so there's different ways to reallocate that stuff to steal market share, and stand out. When people spend less, it's easier to differentiate and stand out and rise above all that.
Right. So you brought up a couple of good points. So when I hear somebody saying we should stop advertising because we don't have new cars, I cringe a little bit. And here's why.
As a dealer, I don't. I go, all right, I love it. Well, I hope all the ones around me don't.
But the problem with that philosophy is this. Ever since I've been alive, and I know you're a lot older than me, so ever since you've been probably alive, right, Scott?
I'm glad you said that, because for the people, it won't matter to the people that are listening and downloading the podcast, but for the people that go to YouTube or our website, movecrushcount.com, by the way, and watch the video, a lot of people would have struggled figuring that out. But go ahead.
Got that. So dealers have done a great job advertising, we're the best place to buy a new car. Think about at kids' baseball games, high school athletics, you have the billboards, and it's the best place to buy your next Jeep, the next place to buy your next Honda. But really, there's been zero advertising of, we are the best place to sell back your car to. So what's happening right now is car dealerships are wanting to turn that switch, throwing $500, $1,000 at it, and to basically rebrand themselves from we sell Honda Accords and Honda Pilots to we'll give you more money for your car than anybody else. And that takes time, because we pretty much haven't been doing that the last 20, 30 years, which is why if you go up to a normal consumer and you say, what's a business that will just give you a check right away for your car that you can take it in and be in and out in 20 minutes, they're going to say CarMax. That's where people have been conditioned. Yeah. So it's not necessarily that car dealerships should stop advertising. It's where they're spending the money and how they're spending the money needs to change and evolve based off the landscape. Parts and service is more important than it ever is before. Used cars and becoming a used car dealership is becoming important. And then acquiring good cars that you can turn around very quickly is extremely important. You brought up a point earlier, Scott, and somebody said, hey, Jamil, in theory, your example sounds great. I should know how much I'm spending in new and used and service and stuff. But at the end of the day, why does that mean anything in terms of that? Why would that change when I'm spending $5,000 in search, $2,500 in display, and $2,500 in social? And my answer is, oh, it would change everything. Give you a few examples. If you're a car dealer and you're wanting to sell used cars, paid search is not the best place. Facebook and Instagram is, followed by display advertising, followed by search. Unless you want to waste a lot of money competing against car gurus, auto traders, cars.com on search and doing VIN specific. And beyond that, even if you try to do VIN specific paid search, you're probably going to only be able to spend a few $100s because you don't have as much inventory and there's not as many searches. If you're wanting to get service business, you're probably going to want to spend more money in search because there's more people out there that are searching for Honda oil change, Honda service. You
Or
can't
just
do
oil
it by-
change, or just oil change near me, right? If I'm outside of a warranty, you know.
Right.
In fact, I don't even know if they type near me anymore. I mean, they might probably just put oil change. Google's smart enough to just know where I'm at. And
If your strategy is you need to steal market share from your competitor and you have a specific competitor, then you're going to do a lot of on search and display. So you're going to do what on display is called custom intent audiences. You're going to put in your competitor's URL. You're going to put in your competitor's dealership name or business name, and you're going to create audiences based off of people that searched for your competitor or went on your competitor's website. And then you're going to do the same thing in paid search. So once I kind of walked him through that, it kind of made sense. No, you're right. It shouldn't be a flat 5,000 for search. It's all going to go back based off of where do we want to spend it first.
okay, got a good question here that came up in the comments. So, do you think marketing managers should invest in social media listening tools to better understand what and where to spend money?
Yes, I do. Now, there's a lot of options out there. So I think you got to make sure you're doing your homework, you're finding it out. And just like any tool, it's only as good as if you use the data that comes with the tool. So yes, I have heard people have success with those. And I would definitely recommend it as long as you're going in there and using that data.
So I'm going to get someone behind the scenes. I've posted this comment up, and for the people that are listening to this on podcast, we had a comment from the audience. This Jamil guy is impressive, and so I'm going to have some type of investigation brought up to make sure that this guy's got it all, that the elevator goes all the way to the top floor here. So I gotta see that. First off, people that are listening and commenting, Jamil and I have a special relationship. I cannot have you making public comments that publicly say good things about him while not counterbalancing it or throwing some good sun my way. All right. It's throws shade on me. And by the way, I'm going to have a special thing because we're very competitive. We both play fantasy football. And while it's become quite obvious in our league that I am on a collision course for my 15th championship, the only variable is time. Your post that you said publicly about me is not going to age well. And in fact, it already hasn't. I'm just saving and waiting. And I just want to throw that out there. I'll let you comment on that. We'll get back on topic here.
I mean, my comment is I'm in first and you are below me. So, I mean, there's not much more to say.
We have the same record. All right. Jamil, you have to understand that I have the most points scored against me of all people in the league. I rank number one for points scored against. I am everyone's Super Bowl. All right. When you're facing a 14-time champion, this is the Super Bowl for me. People they don't get psyched up for a bronze level, all right, below 500 in Yahoo champion. They don't, this is what people are coming at me each and every day. If they want to go up against a 4-time diamond multi-champion, kind of, I hate to say it, but this is the one area I have icon status.
We can get back to digital marketing, but I'll leave the audience with this, right? I'm in first, he's in second. I have more points than him. I have more points than him. And, and I feel like I'm competing against two people. I'm competing against Scott and whatever services he's paying thousands of dollars to help him out. So the reality is I'm beating two people.
Well, a lot of people don't know, Jamil, but those services consult with me behind the scenes before they publish their material.
Got it.
So Sandy Cerami comments, our good friend Sandy, I don't see any other digital marketing agencies doing what you guys are doing. And I think he was bringing that up specific when you were talking about using your own previous customer data, your own client data, and putting it into search. So we talked a little bit about auto. How are you doing that in other industries? Let's talk a little bit specifically how you're taking, first off, where did you learn to do that? All right, let's go backwards. Where did you learn? What gave you the idea to do that?
Right.
And then I'm going to come back with what other industries are you doing and how you're using it? Because what I want is I want to make a lot of times when we hear, what I don't want is the people in the audience thinking, well, that might work for auto, but it won't work for me. Because you didn't catch this idea from listening to it about how auto dealers were doing it, because
Correct.
no one was doing it.
Correct. Yeah, we talk a little bit about customer data. So the use of first-party data within digital marketing has been around for a long time now. Facebook and Instagram were one of on the forefront of that, is just uploading a customer list. I was at a conference, and for all the viewers, I would definitely recommend it. It's a conference. It's called Smx Conference. It's for all industries. It's fantastic. It's typically in New York, and then they also do it in San Jose, so twice a year, and then there's an advanced one. We were at Smx, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, and Google was doing a rollout of customer data, and ironically, they actually rolled out using first-party data for search before they did with the Google Display Network on display. And the example that they used was actually for the e-commerce side. So they were saying, hey guys, for the e-commerce side, we've rolled out using first-party data for paid search. And the end-all be-all goal for Google and Facebook is they want all businesses advertising with them. They know.
Do I have that correct, Jamil? SMX
Yep.
Conference. Okay.
Yep. They know that the large corporations are going to spend, but they're really looking for the mom and pops. Okay. Which is why Facebook's campaign right now on what Apple's doing and so on is all about, it's hurting the small businesses. So the example that they use for first party is, let's say you're a flower shop. You're a mom and pops. You've been in business for 30, 40 years. You're a small flower shop in Louisville, Kentucky, as an example. Those flower shops weren't doing paid search. It was very hard for them because they're competing against 1-800-Flowers, flowers.com, Flowers Direct, you name it. So their idea was, guys, now you have the ability to take everybody that bought flowers from you in the last 10 years, 15 years that you've kept records from, because when you order flowers, you typically give them your name, your email address, your phone numbers. You can upload that into Google search, and then if one of those people that have bought flowers from you before goes online and searches for flowers near me, flowers offers, flowers delivery, your ad can show up. So it was intended for small business, mom and pops, to be able to compete on paid search, but do it very intelligently with people that they've transacted with before. And that's kind of what gave me the idea is, well, if this is going to work for mom and pop's flower shop, why can't this work in the automotive sector? Because, for instance, on the service side, a lot of people don't put Honda oil change. They put oil change near me. And that's really where we started testing with it. And we've had great success with it. And I think a lot of dealers and non-dealers, they like to be able to know how much are they spending on acquiring new customers and how much are we spending on just retention.
Well, there's another big benefit to that. You keep mentioning, and what sprung into my head when you're mentioning small businesses, at least in the auto world, if you do a search for a car dealer in terms of their service department, they do not show up on that first page. A lot of times, not even on the second page. And a lot of reasons for that is most of the advertising. If I did oil change near me, I'm not showing up because the dealer normally would not bid on that term. It's too generic. However, there's a lot of national independent auto repair shops that have huge 6- and 7-figure budgets, yearly budgets, and a dealer would never be able to outspend them and get into those prime spots where the ROI would be there. So what you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is you have the ability to upload this data. I think you mentioned it earlier, something with the bidding. It would allow you not only to market, but you could compete and actually be smarter about the bidding process in that segment and outsmart and outcompete, I would say, these big national brands. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we had a question here. Here it is. All right. So from Jeff Hayes, where should dealers use video advertising now? Pre-roll, social, CTV, traditional.
That's a great question. So video advertising should be part of your ad, it's like what your advertising strategy is. So as an example, is if we decide that 25% of our budget is going to be on service. So let's say it's $22,000 is going to service. Then what we need to do is saying, well, what are the ads that are going to help us get the most traffic to these pages? I am a big fan of video advertising for Facebook and Instagram. You get higher CTRs out of it, you get lower CPCs out of it. And if your dealership or your business has the ability to be able to create quick 15, 30-second videos, it's a home run, an absolute home run. When you look at pre-roll or you look at bumper ads on YouTube, you're not going to get the same return on investment from a cost per conversion as you will with Facebook and Instagram, but your audience segmentation is going to be much better than other potential channels like just doing live TV. So what I mean by that is this: YouTube is owned by Google. So I can create an audience in the display network that's the exact same audience that is on YouTube. So example would be, I can do a pre-roll ad to someone that went on my website. I can do a pre-roll ad to someone that went on my competitor's site. I can do a pre-roll ad to somebody that was searching 2 days ago for my product or a similar product of mine, and I can then show a video ad to them. So you can get very, very, very granular on YouTube and do it in a very cost-effective manner. When you look at CTV or OTT or YouTube TV as an example, you really have to look at that not replacing your digital marketing budget. It's really replacing your television budget, because you're obviously not going to be able to get the same cost per leads or cost per conversions that you're going to be seeing in search, display, social, or even YouTube pre-roll. So you really want to, that's more of an awareness play. So if I'm working with a client that says, I want to create mass awareness. I'm a roofing company, one of the largest roofing companies. And when someone realizes that they had hail damage, yeah, I want to show up on search. Yeah, I want to be there with display, but I also want to replace my television budget that we're family owned, we're trusted in the area. You can do that really effectively with OTT. What's good about OTT is you can get very granular to household income. You can upload a customer list to it. You can build out affinity or lookalike audiences. So it's typically something to substitute television.
So I'm very big on proposing that people leverage their assets. And this is a great, opens up a good door to that, right? So yesterday I mentioned I was on Jim Ziegler's show, outstanding show, great discussion yesterday. I loved it. And we got a little bit into traditional marketing, and we started talking about television. And one of my stores is very active in television, but we do it intelligently. And a lot of the things that you just say, we take some of those assets and we're putting it into these other digital channels. Television can be much smarter and still have all the benefits of what it usually is. Very visual. It's good for brand things such as that, but it can also, it's much easier to drive a direct response from TV or video type advertising today than it was in the past. Jim chimed in here with one of probably the best comment of the day. I don't know. So for the people that are only watching, Jamil is brilliant. He's very fortunate to have a front man like Scott. And then he's got the hashtag alpha dog. That's dog with a W in it. So
thank you, Jim.
Listen, if you can't run with the big dogs, you have to stay on the porch. That's very important. We'll throw that out there for Jim. So, and he's definitely the big dog. So we got another comment from Chris Mulligan. And Chris is great. He's a founding member of Business Bourbon and Cigars, which is an event we've got coming up. As good as they get. So Chris is a client of yours.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes, he is.
So are you doing all these stuff? Are you doing this stuff for Chris?
We are.
Good. And I should say Chris is a client of mine as well. So full disclosure of that. But that gives us a little bit of a segue. We'll talk a little bit about business bourbon and cigars. So that's an event we've got coming up, and I've got the address. If you're a general manager, if you're a dealer, if you are a fixed ops director, this is an event that you want to attend because it is a true mastermind event. We'll take, like, for instance, I love bringing this up. Adam Aarons was at the last one, and it was a week prior, and Adam had a couple people. I think he had a general manager get really sick, or there was something that was going to cause him to have to stay in the office, and he was concerned about missing time and coming out for the event. And he goes, "What's the agenda again? I need to see this agenda because I got to be able to justify this." And I sent this to him. But after the first topic, which, 6 months ago, if we weren't talking about how to fix the challenge of inventory, right, it would have been a disservice to everyone. And so we brought up the challenge. Our goal is for all the mastermind groups, they all had to pretend, the different tables had to pretend they were working as one dealership. And their goal was to become best in class in sales and profit in spite of the inventory issue, right? And so we had outstanding solutions come up. Some were very breakthrough, some very innovative. I was talking to Adam afterwards. He goes, this one session will make me six figures. It makes it much more value or worth every penny for me to be missing a week. So, and he didn't have to miss a week. It's just a couple of days, but dealers like to exaggerate. We all like to exaggerate a little bit, but I thought that was a great testimonial from him. It made me feel really good because to come out of the gate like that. But I mean, you are working with the best of the best. It is not a bunch of people standing up, giving pitches, trying to sell you stuff. We have sponsors, but they are working hand in hand with you to come up with solutions, because a lot of these vendors and sponsors have been exposed to some of the best dealers in the country. And they're seeing what people are doing, and you start merging some of these great ideas together, and lo and behold, people come out of these things with something 10 times better than what's already being done. So it's outstanding. The repeat attendee and participation is outstanding as well, which I think speaks well to the value of it. So, Chris, I'm glad you commented. I want to say thank you to that, because that event's coming up February 1st through the 3rd. We're at the Hyatt Resort and Spa down in Hyatt at Coconut Point Resort and Spa down in Bonita Springs, Florida, February 1st and through the 3rd. So getting back to digital marketing. Mm-hmm. So you've kind of discussed your approach to it. Let's just say I'm a client coming to you. Mm-hmm. All right. What do you think? Let's help some digital agencies that are out there a little bit. All right. Yeah. What do you think some of their biggest challenges are? What do you see some of the tough spots that they might be running into? You probably run into it as well, trying and call on customers. What's the biggest challenge agencies face?
So in terms of getting clients signed up,
getting new business, getting new business.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to, unfortunately, a lot of the people that we're talking to don't fully understand what they're getting, right? They maybe understand that this is what my ad spend is, this is what my management fee is, but they truly don't know what is their return on investment. The one thing that I've been helping a lot of clients outside of automotive do is they know enough to be dangerous. So they know how to pull their search keyword report, example in search. It's a report that you should be looking at if you're a business owner, you're responsible for that digital marketing budget, is pulling that search keyword report. In there, you're going to see a lot of wasted spend. So you're going to be able to search by all the keywords. You're going to see which keywords performed well, which ones didn't. Are we continually spending the same amount of money month over month, quarter over quarter? Where should we be spending more money? Are there adjustments that are being made to our negative keyword list? So for instance, if you pull a search keyword report and you have all these keywords that are not performing very well, and it was over a 90-day period, they should become what we call as our negative keywords. Is that list getting updated? A lot of times with the agencies, it's a lack of management. It's, what are the safeguards that they have in place, that it's not relying on one person, their one analyst? Because then you run into this issue where if you get a bad analyst, then your count goes down. And it's a lot like a financial advisor where, the advisor can make a difference. The company's a good company, but the advisor makes a difference. So what we've done is we put a lot of safeguards in place where management, upper management, we can see how all of our accounts are performing, and we can jump in and be able to make those changes to the accounts that maybe are struggling.
Where have you seen with, like, say, inventory? Yesterday on Jim's show, really the topic was, should dealers or should clients and this goes for anybody. The question was raised, should dealers, because Jim's audience is auto dealers,
Right.
specific, should auto dealers be advertising or marketing right now? And if so, when and where and how, right? But he was asking that because of the inventory challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so the auto industry is not the only industry struggling right now in inventory. So let me ask you that question. I mean, if you were on that show, how would you have answered that question?
Should we be spending money on advertising, or where should
Well,
we?
we've already covered that. I think it's about shifting it, right? But for the person that is, and we talked specifically in auto about vehicle acquisition and things like that. But if you're in another industry,
Yeah.
all right, there may not be processes necessarily set up to find inventory that you can sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you address that? Like, where does their spend go?
I mean, obviously, it would have to be specific to each customer and client. Like, I feel like auto industry is very similar to a lot of other industries. Believe it or not, there's multiple profit centers to your business. So yes, there's an inventory shortage, but there's other areas of your business that there's not a shortage, or you can provide a good or service that there is not a shortage for. So it's understanding, how does a company make money, and where is there the biggest potential, and then funneling all the money into that specific strategy. Obviously, if a car dealership didn't service cars, if they didn't sell used cars, and they didn't take trade-ins, and all they did was sell new cars, then the chance of them really continually spending the same amount of money in digital marketing wouldn't be there. They should pause it, or drastically reduce it. But most businesses have different areas that they actually make money.
Which brings me to my next question then. So let's say I'm a client, any industry, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
What's your approach to me? I call you and I say, hey, I'm interested in doing some digital marketing. And the reason could be a variety of reasons. Either I really haven't dove into that much and I want to get into it, or let's just say I feel like mine's a little stale. It's plateaued.
Okay.
I'm okay with it, but it's not in my mind. When I signed on with this agency, the realities are a little different than what I expected. Let's just put that right.
Okay.
So what's your approach to that? How do you start with someone like me?
So Scott, you're currently doing digital marketing right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you say that it's currently stale and so on. How are you measuring the success of your digital marketing right now?
You're asking the wrong person. I got people for that, Jamil.
Okay. So we would definitely want to loop those people around. And that brings up to the point that we started 48 minutes ago. We have to be measuring the success of a dollar that you're putting in, correct? So if we're spending something for $10,000, are we measuring at the end of the month of how many leads we generated? Is it how many, if you're an e-commerce business, is it how many widgets or how many units that you sold? Is it a play directly based off of awareness? Are we measuring it based off of our Google Analytics of website traffic, that the more traffic we get on our site, that's hooray, that's awesome, right? Or is it session time? So I'd want to know, Scott, how are you measuring the success? And then I'd want to measure, once I find that out, I'd want to say, okay, well, you're mediocre right now. Let's say it's leads, correct? And on average, you're getting 400 leads a month from your website. And then I'd say, well, where do you want to be at? Well, you want to be at 600. Well, then now let's talk about how you feel like as a business owner, you are able to get from 400 to 600. Is it your current client base? Do you feel like you've tapped that client base out and we need to go get new customers? Do you feel like that your number of leads on your website's gone from 600 to 400 because there's a new game in town that is stealing market share from you, I would want to review over how you're spending your digital marketing, because if you're spending $5,000 and it's not going to lead generation, it's going to awareness. Let's say 80% of your budget is being spent on display, then we have some answers from that. So it's really truly diving in, being able to ask the right questions to be able to formulate, hey, I can either help you or I can't. Like, I'm very transparent with people that after I look at it and say, hey, you have unrealistic expectations, or no, you have really realistic expectation, your strategy is just flawed, or the agency you're using is dropping the ball. It's smoke and mirrors. Half of your spend is going to things that would never even convert. It doesn't even make sense logically why they'd even spend money in that area.
So I'm a big believer in focus on yourself, worry about what your customers want or will want, and put the blinders are in that sense. Don't worry about what your competitors are doing and this and that. However, in marketing and advertising, it is important to understand how they're marketing, right? You got to know what your advantages and disadvantages are. Do you spend a lot of time finding out what your clients' competitors are actually doing?
Absolutely. You should do that before you even launch or spend a dollar. So what should happen before you go live with any campaign is you should do a quick competitive analysis, and your agency should be able to do that for you. There's a ton of free and paid solutions that you can use. So like in search, you have everything from Search Monitor to iSpionage to SEMrush. It allows you to have a good baseline of who's spending money in your market, what keywords that are they bidding on, specifically what does their actual ads look like, where are the landing pages that they're taking them to. For social advertising, you can just use the Facebook ads library. Just type in Google Facebook's ads library. You can see all the ads that they're running. And a lot of it's because you want to see what they're advertising, correct? You want to
Yep.
know, if you're a plumber, you want to know, well, if you have three major competitors, are they acquiring new customers because they're doing a $39.99 special, right? Or they're doing a free quote special, correct? So I would definitely do an online analysis. And then in some industries, you can do an offline analysis. Like in auto, we do an offline analysis with our partner IHS Polk, where we look at what's selling, what's not selling, who's stealing market share from you, to be able to decide, well, what markets do we need to even take a little bit of a closer look at.
So let me ask you this question. So if I'm a client and I want, do I have to be a client before I get this?
Well, typically when we launch a client, when a client signs up with us, we do the full analysis. Now I've had clients reach out to me and say, hey, can you do a basic analysis for us to kind of look at what we're doing? Some clients, automotive, non-automotive, has actually just sent me over the reports. Hey, is this good? And, I pull up benchmarks, like we talked about earlier. Well, you're in the home services industry. The average click-through rate in the home services industry is about 3.5% CTR, or 4.5%. You're at 2.5% for search, and you're paying $12, which is double the amount of cost per click. So no, if I were you, I want to be happy with that. So let's then examine why. So yeah, we'll do some basic type of analysis for clients to be able to see, can we help them? And that's the big thing, is we want to sign on clients that we can truly, truly help.
So if I'm a client, where can I go to see what my competitors are doing? Because that takes a lot of time, and then you got to I mean, I don't have time to search all that. So what's an easy way to do it?
Well, number one, you should be reaching out to your agency that manages your digital marketing. On a monthly basis, part of your call, we call them optimization calls, should be some type of competitive analysis. So if you're doing paid search as an example, and you see that your cost per click's going up, or your impression share is going down, and you're truly spending the same amount of money, there's a reason behind that. You can a lot of times find out that reason in what's called the Auctions Insight Report. It's a report that shows you what you're spending, as well as what your competition's doing in terms of impression as well as top of page rate and absolute top of page rates. From there, you can come up with some good conclusions when you look at month over month to figure out, well, is it just my competition's getting more competitive, they're spending more, or is it truly I have an issue in my ads account? Maybe my quality score's gone down, which in return has lowered my ad rank.
So, do I have your email right there?
Yep, that's right.
So
I'm glad after 14 years of working together, Scott, you got my email and my last name.
Well, you've had so many. So yeah, you've had a lot of different ones. So, but one of the thing I wanted to put this up there because, you know, there's also the Facebook ad library, right? Where they can go to, then get all this stuff, but you'll do a report for people where you'll analyze someone's competitors' top performing ads. You can look at where in different markets and different opportunities to pick up market share and this and that. It takes about 7 to 8 days to run that report so the data accumulates, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and I guess because you're technically my boss, Scott, you're signing me up for this. So I will say, yes, for today's listeners, I will do the competitive analysis. Typically, that's done by somebody else on our team. But I will, anybody that, if you email me and you mention that you watch this, I will go in and I'll do the competitive analysis. We'll sit down, we'll review over it all together. I think that's what you were going to, or Scott. I will definitely honor that for this podcast. You know, it's your 50th podcast, so I might as well do something nice.
So yeah, so I mean, there you go, guys. Reach out to Zabaneh, Zabaneh at jnlmarketing.com. Make sure you spell out the word "and" in there, and then make sure you move, crush, and count. If you visit movecrushcount.com, you'll be able to download this. You'll get the video as well of it. So make sure you subscribe, though. That way you get notifications of all the upcoming and new episodes as well. So I want to thank Jamil. Jamil, do you have anything? Because you dropped a lot here.
Yeah.
And so I want people, hopefully, if they didn't catch things the first time, to go back, because you gave a lot of specifics on what people can do. And even if they're working with a different agency or something like that, these are questions that that can raise that can have an immediate impact in the positive for their results, right? So make sure you do that. But what closing thoughts do you have?
My only closing thought is kind of how we started off. Know where your money's going, right? Know exactly what sectors of the business and how much you're spending. Care a little bit less about the channels, because at the end of the day, you're holding your agency accountable for whether it's leads or revenue. The channels are less important, but knowing where the money's going into what areas of your business is more important, because at the end of the day, if you're spending a lot of money or most of your advertising budget in a certain area of your business, and over the last 6 months, that area of business has been flat or it's gone down, chances are that strategy is not working or there's other things going on. So understand really where that money's going would be my big suggestion for today.
All right. Outstanding. I want to thank Jamil Zabaneh, president of J&L Marketing, for coming on our 50th episode of Move Crush Count. As I said, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the social channels. Subscribe to us on YouTube, as well as movecrushcount.com. I'm going to put up, as we close out the show, we mentioned business, bourbon, and cigars. I want to put a little video out there to kind of close things down. Jamil, if you want to hang on here after this is out, we'll say goodbye to everybody as soon as it's complete. All right.
Perfect. All right.
I was coming here, I was looking at some of the subject matter, and I was like, I don't know I'm going to get a lot out of this. In the first session this morning about inventory, it made my 3 days worth the trip.
I love being around like-minded people, but most importantly, I want to develop a relationship with industry professionals that I truly respect. I love their knowledge, what they can bring to the table. If you want to learn more and push yourself and get outside of your comfort zone, this is the place to be.
All right. So we'll say goodbye on that note. Once again, follow us on movecrush.com. If you go to jnlmarketing.com, you can also find under the experiences our business bourbon and cigars. We've been scrolling the website. If you're a dealer, general manager, or fixed ops director, and you're interested in participating in that event, please go there and sign up for the early bird special pricing now. So once again, thank you all for listening and tuning in. This is for Jamil Zabaneh and myself. We'll see you on the next episode.
See you guys. Thank you.